And we are live. Yes. Would you mind writing me shortly into the chat box whether you can hear and see, where the sound is on? It's all on my side, so it should be working. And yes, Janice, Stephen. Okay, perfect. Welcome to a very exciting subject today. My kids said, do you really want to be known as the ED guy? And I said, well, how about the ED guy that resolved the puzzle, that finally found a solution? Actually, yes, I'd like to be that guy. So today I have something really, really exciting for you. It's a study that we found while researching for prostate problems, and it is so exciting and so powerful that I would like to introduce that study to you and explain how to make it work for yourself. Now, the study was not designed for erectile dysfunction. It was actually designed for people that have prostatitis, prostate cancer, benign prostatic hypertrophy, swelling of the prostate, problems with peeing. On my next slide, I think I have all the symptoms here, whether that's pain and burning, difficulty, urination problems, cloudy urine, blood in urine. We have a whole range of problems that usually you start with and then they just get worse. And at some stage, you either need surgery and remove your prostate, or you find me and my study that I would like to explain to you now. All right. While researching prostate problems, we actually stumbled by accident over this study. It was done in Cuba with high intensity PEMF. And they had two groups of 60 people, so 120 people in total, above 60 years of age. So it was my age group that they tested, and they had all diagnosed prostatitis, prostate cancer, prostate swelling, problems with peeing, all the symptoms that we saw on the slide before. And that group was taken in to check the volume of the prostate, how much the prostate is swollen. So they had the initial response, and then two groups. One was taken just on dietary, supplementation, hygiene, and lifestyle. And the other group had exactly the same, just added PEMF, 30 sessions of PEMF over those 2 months. And then they started out and look at the results. Prostate swelling, very minimal improvement, an improvement, but very minimal. And then the group that was treated with PEMF, badang, that's a huge reduction in such a short time with no additional factors. Those people might have gone home and eaten all their cheese and pizza and whatever and deteriorated health at the same time while the clinic was treating. So even under those conditions, these results. Now the next group was PSA. And PSA is something we know above 7.9, 8, 9, it really goes into the critical zone. And both groups had started out about the 8. And the non-PEMF group, 6.2, whereas the PEMF group went down 3.4. In 2 months, 30 treatments, nothing else added, and look at the difference. So that was really cool. And when you take all of those factors that we saw here together, all of those problems, and you list that you have them, it adds up to a certain number of points, which then turn out into the IPSS chart. It's all your discomforts associated with it. And again, both groups had about 10, 10.1, 10.5 to start with, quite a lot of all those symptoms and problems. And look at the PEMF group, 3.1, and the other one, 7.4. So they had improved. Just lifestyle and a few supplements can do already a lot, but the significance was that. And then it happened. All doctors reported that their patients, the PEMF group, came in and said, oh my God, I made love for the first time with my wife again after 3 years. I didn't even remember how beautiful it was. Or the next one came in and said, my morning pride, wow, that feels good, and I've got so much more energy. It was actually throughout all 60 participants a unanimous agreement that their libido levels went up. And so the doctors restarted the study and included that into the program, and they checked out with elderly patients, not so, and the younger ones, well, younger, around the 60, how the improvements had happened. And the younger groups at 60 to 70 really had significant changes. And I thought that's a real good argument to get started working on our health, right? And that's what you can see here. That level, with a non-ED person, a healthy person, a 30-year-old stud male, has 20 to 22 to 25. That means no ED. And then the next group below, which is, when you can't hold your erection as long anymore, it doesn't get as hard anymore, you don't feel that urge anymore, which is actually quite a nice state, which is what we call mild ED, 17 to 21. And then from there on, the uncertainty factors increase, like that you can't have an erection at all, that the mind is aroused, but the physical part doesn't come along, or that you collapse right in the middle. All of those things start from the mild to moderate going to worse. And when you see that a group of diagnosed patients with those health issues went from 12, which was already, mild to moderate, into the 18, which is a significant improvement. Again, nothing else, just 30 treatments added on top of dietary changes and supplement. It's really mind-blowing. And I have to apologize to all of you for not listening to my audience. It's so easy to say, oh, it's male talk. Alternative medicine has that problem that everybody is big talking, a little bit. My grandpa had Viagra and he was horny for 3 days. Well, we smile about those comments, but they really also degrade the pharmaceutical value of those treatments. So when clients came to me and said, Marcus, wow, I had an erection for the first time in a long time, it was kind of, male talk. And then I actually told one practitioner in Brisbane, I said, you can't make potency statement and advertising marketing campaigns on potency and virility with PEMF. That's not approved. That's not something we are allowed to do. He said, who cares? It works and my clients love it, so I'll keep going with it. Well, good on you, John, and thank you for doing so. It just takes me with my stubborn research always a bit longer to get there. And then I received, many feedback studies, but this one from Stephen was really nice. He had purchased a PEMF for hip treatment. He had broken his hip, he had serious pain injury in the hip with pain, and to support the growth, he was buying a PEMF. And then, however, much to my surprise, I was met with a very unexpected, very excited friend in the morning, a friend I haven't seen in a long time. And that's actually what we get most back, that patients or clients that have lost their libido all of a sudden have the energy to restore. Marietta wrote to me from the clinic. They purchased one device and then she said, Marcus, we have changing dynamics or changing problems. First, we had a lot of elderly people with pain and nausea and grumpy and miserable and supplementation and medication. And now we have different problems. Nightly outings, rediscovered libido, and party in the corridors. So they ordered 2 more machines, one actually for staff to keep up with the energy, and the second for their rejuvenation state. And I'm not saying that we can postpone it indefinitely. We all get there. We all die one day, and we all run out of testosterone at some stage. But it doesn't need to be so early, right? I feel like I've just gone through the hardest part of my life, and now I would like to enjoy life. And when it started for me, it creeps up on you. It's so gentle. It's a little bit and then doesn't work one day, but it works the next. And, fluctuating testosterone, other reasons that block or allow. And so it's not something you have bong, but at a certain stage, it's so little that you go like, hey, now I really start worrying. For me, I actually started to panic and research and look for solutions. And that's when I started to hear the feedback from my clients. Oh, really? I should do that too. So most men associate their erectile function, their erection, with self-esteem. And it's kind of depressive There's so many factors. When dysfunction occurs, you lose your confidence in themselves, the ability as a man, and then depression, anxiety, and everything comes in. And I remember for me, when it became really obvious, then I hid. I stopped making videos. I was not out there anymore. I had very low self-esteem and was hiding and researching. So I never gave up, because I guess that's the next slide. No, it's not. But look, there are no other solutions. A testicle pump that, one testicle is taken out, even less testosterone now, and then you have a little pump implant to pump up and inflate the penis, is not really something I would do. There's actually only 1% of all men who consider that as an option. And then there is Viagra, but let's face it, heart palpitations, chest pain, bloodshot eyes rushing in your ears, migraines. It's not really arousing, and I'm not sure whether I'm brave enough to do that. So there are no real other solutions. And yes, we all know those supplements. Let's face it, you and I, we have them all, we tried them all. And sometimes I think they work perfectly on my mind and aggravate and make me really, really aroused, and then the physical component still doesn't work. So that's not a proper solution. And if they sometimes work and sometimes not, it's not really something you can rely on, because your confidence level drops with every time it doesn't work. So there must be a different solution, and giving up, in my opinion, is not an option. I need at least another 10 years or maybe 15. So I've been searching and I've been studying and I've been speaking to top experts. And when we found that study and we fine-tuned it with some of our clients and really optimized it, wow, what a change. So we are not giving up, and we're not going into drugs and overeating and alcohol. We actually solve the problem. And just like Jonathan says, it's not about sex. It's that inner flame that dies with age. When we finally could do things and we've gone through the hard time of work and raising family and children, and then there is no more energy and the body moans and groans with every move. Well, that's what we need to overcome, and that's where PEMF gives you so much energy. He wrote, after using PEMF for 8 weeks, I feel as if someone plugged me into a charger and all batteries and happy juices are overflowing. Happy juices too. I'm alive, feeling great, hiking outdoor every day. Isabel contacted me when her husband was diagnosed at the age of 40, I think 39, 40, and it completely dropped. So she tried all different variations and nothing really worked. And then I told her to go to a local vet. She actually started to work there to compensate for the treatment and pay off, because her husband had lost his job and they had to sell the house. Like what I said before, the self-esteem, when it diminishes and your confidence goes out the door, it's really one of those dreadful pathways that many men go. So she started to work at the vet, and he said, well, use my PEMF for your husband. And she said, well, it's really strange, horses and husband, but they tried it out and he's back. He's back alive. He's full of energy, and they purchased their own device, and he's a really, really big proponent and supporter of that. Jason Gilbert is the chiropractor down at Lenox Head. He works mostly with the World Surf Championship and with top athletes, but he also has a side business for ED, and he treats all his patients for ED. And that's an advertisement that he has never needed to pay for. It's just word of mouth, and he probably needs a next device. He already has to very soon, because the demand is so high. And who am I to tell you all of that? See, we started to research cancer 20 years ago, traveled around the world, interviewed hundreds of doctors, made a documentary, Cancer is Curable Now, later known as Truly Heal from Cancer, and published that, started a school with all the things that we learned in over 15 years now. We put into a program, and we teach health professionals, health practitioners, coaches, health coaches, and private people, patients, what really is relevant. And that's what we've been doing for the last 10 years, 5 to 10 years. sharing what we've learned with those who need it. And that's why when I tell you we have a treatment, a therapy, then let's face it, I'm not holding back. I'm not sharing with you some hype or some promotion. We're really talking about factual evidence that you can recreate. All right, who is this training not for? And I thought I'll put that slide in because it's really important for those who seek a quick fix. If you have a date in 30 minutes, well, get your blue pill. PEMF will take a while. It works very fast, but it's not consistent. And until you have restored your real health, not just put a Band-Aid on like with the Viagra, you really need some time. And for those who want penis enlargement, it won't grow him bigger. It's actually one of those things that many men, after they haven't seen an erected penis anymore since a while, they have imagination about the size it once was. And then once it comes back, and they go like, it was bigger. No, it wasn't. It was actually the same size. It's like your shoes, your legs, your hands, your arms, your complete body size. It just doesn't change. So in the same way, it's not for an enlargement. If you already have a pump installed, it's actually a contraindication because of all the mechanics. And then if you have a pacemaker, cochlear pumps, all of those, they are electronic devices. And if you pulse them with a high magnetic field, they can short out. So if you have a pacemaker, go to your cardiologist, talk to them whether your device is shielded and for how strong. And patients with organ transplants, stay away. You get medication to stop your body from rejecting the organ, immune suppressors. And what we're talking about is one of the strongest immune supporters. It's an immune booster. So you don't want to mix those two and then reject your organs. And now, shortly, before we go on, I would like you to tell me who you are. And I've actually changed it. I said it's an episode. I have an episode early in my life. I have an ED episode late in my life. And let's just, before you click the button, let's make it 50. 50 and younger is early, and 50 and later is late in life. I am a distressed wife or partner. I have real prostate problems like swelling and pee problems and all of that. I have prostate cancer. So if you have already been diagnosed, and I'm a practitioner who wants to help others. And I will, as soon as all the values come in, it's still shifting dramatically. So as soon as the values come in, then I'll let you know what the pot is like. And Deborah, you remind me. Thank you. Okay, so let's look at the training. 4 parts, very important. And all 4 parts are part of the whole. So you can't just do one without the other. For example, removing the cause. What triggered your ED in the first place? There's a few things that we need to address, and that's what we do first. Then we recharge the actual treatment, boosting your energy levels, bringing testosterone levels up. All of that is in part 2. Then in part 3, we need rocket fuel for the body. If you have all of a sudden nutrient that can get into the cell, well, then you need to feed the right nutrients to make it possible. And then we look at how to enjoy life, overcome fears and phobias and trauma, and actually make the most of that energy that you've been given. All right? Cause number 1. And look, that's a long list of causes, but you can see all the ones that have a little red tick already are all taken care of by one single treatment. Well, no. One treatment plus supplementation. So we need to do the supplementation, number 1, to bind everything and to get rid of it, all the toxins, and then supplementation for nutrients to fill the cells and make them work properly. So that's quite a lot. And that's why there's only 3 fields that have not been ticked, and that is radiation exposure. Look, radiation is like Hiroshima, Fukushima. If you bombard something, and it's all dead around, the nervous system is dead, all the capillaries, the blood vessels are dead. It's a very long healing process. So there's very difficult to actually do something once radiation has happened. Medication, you can take pills that knock your libido out completely. It's probably the least of the side effects. So you need to check your medication labels, what they do. Diabetes, If you have very high insulin spikes going up and down, they're actually a contraindication for libido in total and for prostate health. So we need to get that under control. And poor nutrition and lack of exercise is part of that whole thing. It's to do with too many saturated fats and really sedative lifestyle. That needs to be addressed separately. They have nothing to do with the treatment, but they're part of the whole thing to really have success. Now, for us, the journey with prostate started when I had my first interview with Dr. Rao in Switzerland at the Paracelsus Clinic. And he did a lot of research into prostate health and what caused prostate problems. And what he did was they did a lot of surgery in the clinic. So when they cut out a prostate, they always cut a little bit of healthy tissue as well, so that they get it all, number one, and secondary, to do a test, a toxicological test, healthy prostate tissue versus cancerous prostate tissue, and they tested toxicologically what the difference is. And believe it or not, 20 to 40,000 times higher concentrations of heavy metals in the cancer tissue than there is in the healthy tissue. So the healthy tissue still has the ability to detoxify, get rid of toxins, whereas cancer tissues don't. And that then triggers that conflict. So that was his research. And you can see here on the prostate, it's right here in the middle. It's a lot of nerves connected to the dorsal nerve, connected to the prostate. And if there is 20 to 40,000 times more toxins in cancer tissue, then we know it's directly linked, right? It has something to do. And where does that come from? Why does the prostate hold so many toxins? Well, it's pretty simple. It's a detox organ. When you get aroused, as soon as your penis fills with blood and gets the erection, the prostate starts filling with a seminal fluid. And that fluid goes like into a sponge, fills every fiber of the prostate. And then the semen from your testicles are transported up and then injected into the prostate. And the fluid is there to cleanse, sterilize, clean, and detoxify the sperm. See, nature has built that filter in so that you have the healthiest, the strongest, and the best cleaned sperm to deliver to create progeny. And therefore, that filtration process in the prostate is every single time you have an ejaculation. Now, what is always the first thing that blocks up? The filter, right? That's unfortunately the case. So if you have lots of toxic exposure, you are exposed to environmental toxins every day, to petrochemicals every day, to mercury, to all of those things, they build up more and more and more in your body. And that's when then the filtration process can't get rid of it, eliminate out of the body. And that's when the whole thing starts blocking up. And there is a few other points that I'll explain in a moment, but they are really significant. And don't let me forget that. The detoxification process is catch-22. Once you have already a problem with detoxification, it gets worse and worse in a very, very short time. So that's why we need to address that. Now, there's another testimony from Jeffrey, which was very nice. When I was learning about prostate cancer, I learned about its undeniable connection to heavy metals and how they accumulate in glands where hormones are made, directly increasing estrogen levels, which is the female boobs level that we don't want as males, and interfere and block receptor sites, you know, those fine receptor sites where the nerve sending and the signaling to all the cells work, and then destroy enzymes in the pathway of the process. And that's just something we have all the time happening. And if that's an overburdened system, if that's an overloaded system, then that's where disease sets in first. And for those of you who think, oh, well, toxins aren't that bad, I don't see any toxins out there, it's undeniable. Just taking bones from a person that is 100 years old to people that died just recently, and we compare the lead level in bone, because that's where it's mostly residing in or stored in bones, then we are 2,000 times higher than 100 years ago. When we look at mercury levels, they have gone through the roof. Whether that's from fish, from coal burning, from mining, from everywhere. It's something we need to reduce. And when you see a lot of patients that come and you look at all their test results and they have all those red bars and many yellow bars and their deficiencies are all on the negative side, well then you know there's something out of balance. And that's why going into the treatment is really key. And that's where I would like to address number one. Number one of all the treatments that we do with PEMF. We have toxins that attach to the membrane receptors, like I just said, and they block those receptors. Now, every toxin correlates to 1, 2, 3 different minerals or nutrients. So let's say you have mercury in your mouth for 5 years, 10 years, and it evaporates and your body starts to saturate more and more with mercury. And then you have also tuna that you eat a lot. You eat a lot of vinegar and sour things so that it breaks loose your toxins out of the amalgam and they vaporize your body like crazy. Then mercury competes with the same receptor sites as we have on the next slide, selenium, zinc, iron, and iodine. So those nutrients cannot get into the cell because all of those cell receptors are blocked by mercury. And this is where all of those different receptor sites then slowly close up. And as soon as they do, because they're not only with heavy metals, virus, bacteria, mold, microfiber, plastic, petrochemicals, neurotoxins, pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, and different medications, all of those start to plug up. And that's why as you get older, your whole body is more and more laden with those toxins and you don't detoxify as well anymore. You don't sweat anymore as you did when you were young. You don't have the exercise and the running and the exhaustion anymore. The more sedative your lifestyle, less exercise, the more your toxin levels build up. And they then block those membrane receptors. And look, ED is just one disease caused by blocked membrane receptors. It's actually called membrane channel disease, whether that's osteoporosis, epilepsy, muscle toning, tinnitus, deafness, migraines, depression, anxiety, just going around. It's covering so many different diseases, and there's so much evidence that as soon as you clear those membrane channels and increase membrane potential, all of a sudden those cells shed the toxins, you accumulate them and bind them and put them out, and your body starts working again. Which means we do not just patch up and put a band-aid on, we actually restore healthy function. And that's what usually is lasting a lot longer. All right, when you have those membrane receptors blocked by toxins, then the nutrients can't go in. And that's when the cell starts to starve. They are machines. They need fuel. They need all the bits and pieces to actually work properly and create new DNA and new RNA and the whole process of ATP production. So once they are cleaned out with a very intense pulse of magnetic field, magnetic field holds planets in its orbit. It is the most fundamental quantum energy that really holds everything together. You blast a massive energy wave through the body, you blast those toxins off, and then you catch them with binders. And I told you, we always have a 2-part program or 3-part. Just blasting them off, what happens? Bloop, they dock back on or somewhere else, and then you have slightly shifting conditions, but it doesn't get better. So what we do is we blast them off, and then we prime the body with charcoal, chlorella, zeolite, modified citrus pectin with nanozeolite spray. There's hundreds of different binders that you can take, long chain molecules, which then float around. And as soon as the toxins come, they bang, wrap around, render them neutral so that your body can detoxify and eliminate them. And then nutrients go into the cell. And that's what you feel most. It's actually the strongest effect comes not from the detox. It comes from taking the nutrients finally back into the cell and having the energy to work. So let me just tell you very short, in case you are in an advanced state, and I always say that, we can always play around and do all the different binders ourselves, but there is very intelligent beings on this planet, and Quicksilver Scientific has put a box together which is fantastic, including all the bitters, all the binders, all the liposomal support, all the vitamins that your body needs to detoxify properly. It's a 1 month package, and it's different pump sprays. I did a review on it, and that has improved our work so significantly that we actually recommend it as a treatment. You'll find the knowledge about it trulyheal.com/blackbox, the article. Now, there's one more factor that I would like to mention in regards to toxicity, because when we blast off toxins, we also need to look where they come from. And you can see on this image here, your colon and your rectum, where all your stool comes out, is directly touching your prostate. So it's a very significant, direct, interlinking place. Now, normally your body has no problem with filtering, and your immune system cleans up and keeps everything tidy so that there's no transmission of inflammation or infection or bacteria or toxicity. But let's say you have highly inflamed rectum colon, you have hemorrhoids, you have rectal cancer, you have inflamed colon from constant diarrhea, or you have hard stool and constipation for days, and it sits there and can't get out. Well, then that is certainly influencing your prostate. And that's why we always look at, when we do a prostate treatment or health treatment, as I call it, for the whole human male health, then we also look at our food sensitivity so that you really reduce the inflammation in your colon, so that there is a support from that side as well. If you have already advanced stages of swelling and blood in urine and whatever, like if you would call yourself advanced and even already with cancer, you need to add rectal ozone insufflations. It's actually the best combo. The insufflation to pull out inflammation, pull out toxicity, plastic toxicity, break all that down, boost your immune system, provide oxygen, and then you take the toxins out with PEMF. So in case you are looking for a solution for a later stage, not just ED, well, then that's definitely a must. All right, and that brings me to the second factor that happens when you use PEMF treatment. Every cell gets slowly old and tired and has done a lot of work already, right? Like we all have with age. And then with all the blockages, we don't take up nutrients so well, so the cells work hard and cannot really optimize their doing because a lot of nutrients are missing. As we get older, we're starving, even though we have, everything around us, but we can't absorb it into the cell. And then the toxicity blocks it. Plus, you have to understand that every heavy metal that sits outside on any of those cell membrane receptors actually irritates the cell and confuses the cell and causes inflammation. So that's why the cells slowly deflate like this balloon. And if you see the difference from a full membrane, which has 60 to 80 millivolt impedance between the inside and the outside, well then, as soon as you go down to, let's say, 40 or 30 millivolt, the cell really looks like a shriveled up balloon. With that energy in the membrane, they cannot take up nutrients. All the membrane receptors are more or less sleeping. So that's why the cells even get worse. What causes those cells to deflate is inflammation, toxicity, starvation, and a build-up because of that, of positive ions. We all know that when you have a stale office, the room air in the office is stale, it charges up with more and more positive ions. If you have outdoor fresh ocean wind and waves, you have negative ions. In a similar way, when a cell becomes stagnant and starving and old and irritated and inflamed, they build up more and more positive ions. PEMF is a massive tidal wave of negative ions that go through. It's like washing the ocean through that stale environment, and all of a sudden all cells start to energize again. Again, that's the factor that we get by using PEMF. So we bring back the voltage of every cell, and then the membrane receptors open up, we clean out the toxins and take in nutrients, And that's how we redifferentiate. We move a sick and starving cell back to a healthy cell. And that's what a lot of people notice, how much more energy they get, not just in the sexual, in the libido department, but overall. It's actually one of the key treatments. And then there is a third component to it that is probably just as significant as the other two. It's like your hemoglobin, that is the red color in your red blood cells. As it travels into the lungs or past the lungs, then it has to pull oxygen through the membrane of the lung and then through the membrane of the blood vessel into the hemoglobin of the cell by passing through and then taking that oxygen down to your little toe or to your penis or wherever to feed your cells with oxygen. In every cell we need glucose, sugar, and I'm very certain you have plenty of that in your body. We all do. But then if we have plenty of oxygen, then in like a carburetor, like you have the fuel and you have the air from the air filter in the carburetor, creating a hot mix, lots of energy, and your engine runs very smooth. Now, if you have no oxygen, you build up more lactic acid, more yeast, and you have an anaerobic fermentation, which is what cancer cells do. You have very, very little energy output. And this is exactly the problem that we face as we get older. We don't burn as hot anymore. Young people, children, they glow, they have an inner heat. As you get older, you get colder and colder. And that's kind of the problem with the oxygen uptake. So as soon as we do a PEMF treatment, and again, we have in the members area a video where we show it, you have blood before like that, all clogged up, all clotted together, all tired, all exhausted. Well, that's the case with no energy. Now we bombard the red hemoglobin with full-on negative energy power, which means it carries a lot more oxygen and then takes it to the whole body. As soon as ATP production goes up, ATP is your life force, is your energy that your body creates. And that's also a healing energy. See, in this study, they checked out papillomavirus, which is genital warts. Male and female can get it. It's very nasty and it's kind of incurable because there's nothing that kills virus and papillomavirus. So what they had is here the cervix, and that was treated with 2 months of a low sodium diet and exposed to pulsating magnetic field daily. After 2 months, there was no sign of papillomavirus. Now, why do I tell you that when we talk about the disease? In order to heal, restore a cell properly, we need huge amounts of glycogen to restore the cell, to build on glutathione, which is the master antioxidant, to kill off all the virus and bacteria. It clears and filters out heavy metals and toxins. All these enzymes are needed, and to produce them, you need high levels of glycogen. And to do that, you need ATP. So by doing the Schiller test, they actually proved that the ATP production was so upregulated because of PEMF that the glycogen production could happen and the body heals. And that's why this treatment is used in clinics with patients with very low energy, with Lyme disease, with HIV, and it gives them the energy to restore and to heal and to bring up their body back to function. So it's a very, very powerful proof that it works. And I would like to recap very short this chapter with you, just to really make it as simple as possible. We increase membrane potential, which means we charge with negative ions, the cells blow up, and you can see that in the dark field microscope in a treatment of 5 minutes. Bang, full on. And then we shake loose with those massive pulses, we shake loose toxins. Then we add binders with supplement, which means we increase detoxification and elimination. And then we increase nutrient uptake, which we need to take with supplements, and fill all the cells to full function. And then we increase oxygen uptake due to the PEMF treatment to pulse, that oxygen back into the ATP, into the hemoglobin. And increased ATP production. From that burning of oxygen with glucose, we have all of a sudden far more energy. Does that make sense? Really? I hope it does. It's so logical when you understand the principle of healing that it's obvious why it can be applied to so many different diseases. Now let me show you the treatment. It's so super simple that you really don't need to worry. Like I said, 70 and above aged care facility, 60 and above for the study group, is nothing complicated. So I would like to add this part, and we've added that for ourselves because we really want to focus and get a group of thousands of men that showcase that the treatment works. So where does arousal start? It is a very important question. It's either in your fantasy images that you have stored in your memory, or it is visual, or it is by smell, which is very arousing, the smell of a woman behind her neck, and touch. Touch can be extremely arousing. So these are the stimulants, and they come all from your body into the brain. And that's why treating the brain is actually one of the key moments to start with. All the sinus input from the smell, all the motoric understanding, visual, coordination, movement, all of that. Then we have the tactile touch, sensation, feeling, and then the blue part back here is your purple glasses, for seeing things and getting aroused. So you start out with the treatment where you do first the front, then you do the center, and then you do the back, and you can do 5 minutes each on a low level just to treat out the head and to stimulate those areas. They make you aroused, and I show you why. Because all of those, first of all, activate certain parts of the brain that may not function very well. They use these treatments for children with ADHD, with autism. It's like an ever expanding program at the moment, and we're learning every day more about those magnetic fields, how they rekindle certain areas of the brain. So detoxing the brain, getting rid of heavy metals. 60% of your brain is fat. Where does your body store toxins? In fat. So we need to detoxify the brain gently from all the heavy metals. And you can see up here all the different effects that it has. So doing that treatment is fine, very simple. And what we do, we throw out, we catch with binders, so don't forget your binders. Then we go to the next area. And for those of you who don't know, you have erectile tissue, the same tissue out of which a nipple or penis or the clitoris is made, is inside your nose. Well, there's many hypotheses where that comes from. It's like a dog can smell a female dog, which is in heat 2,000 kilometers away. Not quite, but you know what I mean. So there's erectile tissue, and you can have actually a sinus erection by smelling someone that resonates with you and your DNA. So it's quite significant, and that's why we treat the sinus as well. And you can treat it in that way as well, so that you really reactivate that area. It makes a massive difference. Okay, and then we go to the brain sex control center. It's not, but it controls that part too. The hypothalamus, which is in the center of your brain, right in the middle. So it's very hard to reach from the outside, but because the big loop has the highest potency, the highest pulse in the middle, and because matter doesn't matter, it goes through everything. If you hold the loop like that, the highest concentration of the pulse that you administer is right in the middle, and that's where the hypothalamus is. So treating the hypothalamus is key because that's where the pituitary gland is. Now think about all our tactile, visual, everything that we see, we need to get aroused, is feeding into the hypothalamus. From there, it goes into pituitary gland. In this image, it looks like testicles. And from there, all our hormone system is activated, which means FSH and LH are sent out down into your testicles, and the body says, hey, we need testosterone. Testosterone, we need that, right? And that's where the whole process starts. So again, treating the pituitary gland is actually really important because that's where the whole arousal and the whole concept starts. And then from there, we move down to our testicles. I found that picture quite significant, age 60. That's when you have stockings and the levels of testosterone don't reach up to your genitals anymore. And well, levels too low, not enough testosterone. It is something we can't prevent. It's just we can make it into a parabolic shape curve, which means we last a lot longer before it fades out. And I actually think that's worth it. Which means we need to treat testicles in order to increase prostate testosterone output. Again, you hang your penis and your testicles here in the middle. You can do that standing, sitting, whatever you like. You just put that here in between. And then you pulse and start out slowly. Don't crank it up straight away. Ba-ding! We go slowly. You flush out toxins. You have enough binders to catch those. The next day you do a bit more and you bind those toxins and flush them out. Don't just kick full gear in. It doesn't help. Building up health means restoring and removing that which blocks the whole process. So testicles need to be treated just in the same way. Prostate itself is further up. You realize it's right behind your rectum, behind your colon. And because it's a detox organ, because it has so many different functions, do everything possible to restore, to maintain a healthy prostate. So prevention is best. And if you have infection, if you have swelling, go and look at the study again and start working on it and reduce those factors so that your prostate keeps working. There is, on the next image you can see, there is actually the dorsal nerve, that yellow nerve that goes from the penis and it wraps around the whole prostate. Now when you have an erection and the touch or the motion that you feel on your penis is actually activating the blood flow, the pumping action from the prostate into the penis to keep the erection hard. And that's why the dorsal nerve and all of that need to be treated just in the same way. All those fine capillaries inside that penis to keep the erection hard, all those fine capillaries need to be opened up, widened, energized, oxygenated for them to work properly and have that effect. And that's why treatment first, penis and testicles, and then you move the ring back and you sit on top of your prostate, either big loop, small loop, butterfly, whatever you have, it doesn't really matter, and just pulse deep into the prostate to support that detox process and that negative ionization. So let's recap the treatments. It's really simple. You start out, if you want, with your nose and activate that. Then you turn the butterfly around, do the front of your head, then the middle of your head, then the back. And then you do your pituitary gland and stimulate the testosterone production. Go down your testicles and then your prostate. And if you want, you can box it in even from the sides by putting your feet right and left side into the big loop and pulse from the sides. Look, in the study, they did just 15 minutes per day or 20 minutes per day sitting on that loop, and that was it. So they didn't have any additional, and they had thus results. Now, since we used the study to really build up, get more and more information in and test out different things, breathing techniques, and wow, it really has transformed. And that's why I'm not holding back. I'm not telling you only the 2 or 3 things which are easy and then hope you'll do it. We give you the whole lot. So there's many things and we'll share them with you in our newsletters, but it really makes sense to put all of those things in place to support the whole flow. Now, recharge your body with rocket fuel. Very important. We need nutrients and we don't need to pee them into the toilet, right? Or poo them out. The university, what was it, from Columbia showed that 75% was extracted next day into the toilet. So if you don't absorb nutrients, it really doesn't make sense to take many. And you remember those images that I showed you in the beginning, my patients that came to my workshops, cancer workshops, they were on massive amounts of supplements and still they were all deficient. Now I realize that the key factor here is that when cell membrane receptors are blocked by petrochemicals, by toxins, by neurotoxins, by virus, by bacteria, when they're just immobilized or have low energy membrane potential so they can't absorb nutrients, then your serum level goes up and the doctor says, oh, your blood is really good. You have all good, all in the green. And inside the cells, your cells are starving and don't work properly. That's why a good doctor would do a full blood test and not a serum test. But let's just face it, medicine isn't really up to scratch. So absorption is key to actually make it work. And that's why many clinics that we came to use PEMF treatment first. They open up all the cells, they prime the patients with binders, and then they give IV cocktails or supplementation, and the absorption rate is so much faster in the uptake than if you do it without. Now, one of the things, sperm production and libido and oysters, it's always one thing. The main reason why they work is because oysters are very high in zinc and high in magnesium, which are two main components that your body needs. And I told you before, the factor of detoxification is self-propelling, is getting worse with age, because as soon as you have low zinc in your cells, you cannot detoxify properly. Now, if you have more toxins building up on your cells, then that means you can't take up more zinc. So it's getting worse. The more toxic you are, the worse you can fend off the toxicity, and that's why it's self-perpetuating. That's why zinc supplementation and zinc uptake supported with PEMF is so much better. And there is plenty of evidence that zinc is one of the key components for your libido, for sperm production, for everything. So you need to be on a very good zinc supplementation. Formulate that with your nutritionist, with your local pharmacy, with the supplements that you can get in your country. But you definitely need synergistic vitamin A, B6, D, E, and we know vitamin D3 is important, cysteine, glutathione, insulin, magnesium, and manganese. So that's something you can find many supplements that contain that, but you need to go onto a very good uptake of zinc. Magnesium as well. You can use the ancient mineral magnesium really well. You can use the lotion as a transdermal administration. Very, very powerful. Now, I will put as a file to download for you right now, publish file, and you should see it now. This list, and that is just really the nutrients that you need to find. And take that little leaf, go to your local nutritionist, pharmacy, doctor, whoever you trust in your area, and get those things, because they are part of it. And it's not just, vitamin C improves sperm quantity and the motility. Okay, mobility. I'll correct that. Well, now it's too late. You got it already with my funny spelling. But it is really, it's not just enhancing or libido enhancing. It's actually to restore a healthy environment. Fatty acids important, L-glutamine, L-carnitine. So zinc, selenium, magnesium, boron, plenty of water, DIM will help. Maca is very, very potent and very powerful if it's combined well with all the other things. So that's the supplementation list that we've put together, and it works like a charm. It really shifts mountains and gives you that energy back that you want, right? All right, and now enjoying life. For me, that was one of the big questions, is it only my libido, or is it my overall energy, my self-esteem, my self-confidence, my drive, my energy to produce, to create? And I found that to be even far more effective. And because, we all understand that this is not a treatment for ED. This is not a treatment for prostate. This is a treatment for the whole body, for pretty much every function in your body. So many cancer clinics use it as a cancer treatment, as a cancer killing treatment to kill cancer cells, or to redifferentiate unhealthy cells back into healthy cells. If you have a cancer cell and you have a healthy cell, there is many stages in between. It can be just slightly inflamed, a little bit deficient, starving, too much glucose and not enough oxygen, some poison or virus infection, and then slowly toxins get inside the cell is low in membrane potential, can't detoxify, builds up more and more fermentation. The fermentation drives it into a cancerous cycle, and then it turns into a cancer cell. So we have lots of stages. From a certain stage on, when the toxins are inside the cell, Dr. Rao had explained, with high intensity PEMF, by the excitement, we actually destroy the cancer cells. So we create an apoptotic effect, that which cancer has lost. Cancer can't die anymore, so we induce that cell death, that apoptosis, with the treatment. And cells which are still healthy enough to recover once we blast off the toxins, once we energize them, once we give them the nutrients, once we reduce the inflammation, boom, and all of a sudden our unhealthy cells, which would have gone cancerous, turn back into healthy cells. So it's a real process that works. That's why they use it in clinics with infectious diseases, where they treat papillomavirus and Lyme disease and HIV. They do the same thing. They upregulate ATP, they upregulate oxygen, and therefore the cells build their own protective shields, fend off viruses, heal the cell tissue, and become healthy again. It's not a treatment for ED alone. It's used in the sport industry. A lot of rugby clubs, soccer clubs, high impact sports, high endurance sport like bicycle riding, tennis playing, all of those, they are really damaging to your body. Joints, everything is used up in half the time, and then afterwards you stand there as a wreck when you could retire. That's why they start using PEMF to restore in between, to recover, to repair all the tissue. Really significant. And yes, it's also used with multi-million-dollar racehorses. That's where it all started. Those animals were treated with PEMF first, and then the owners tried it for themselves, and it just started to get more and more popular then. And that's how we had our first devices as well. Restoring the mind. If you know that many clinics use it for Alzheimer, Parkinson's, for MS and chronic fatigue and depression, what else do you want? It really brings out that toxicity level, clears the mind, allows energy to go in. As soon as you have more energy, what do you have? More hope for the future, more prosperity, more confidence, more self-esteem, and therefore you can do things. So taking people out of depression into a healthy lifestyle is part of the PEMF treatment as well. And that's why I'm not offering you a treatment that is just purely for ED. It's a treatment for the whole family. From grandma, grandpa, everybody can use it, and they will all love it. Does the entire process make sense? I sometimes get so enthusiastic about those things, and then I realize, oh my God, I lost my audience. So just write me in the chat box if you are still with me, if it is logical, if you understand it. I sometimes wonder how medicine can go so wrong by, Band-Aid philosophy and patching up and blocking pathways and, killing nerve pain instead of resolving that which caused the pain in the first place. So we've gone off track. And so does it make sense? Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Okay, yes, finally understood how my body creates an erection. Yes, thank you. I'm fascinated by how our bodies work and how we can make them work so well. And that's why if you understand the principle and you don't want to go down that drain, well then go for it. It's a treatment that will pay for the next 20, 30 years of your life with good mobility, good energy, and with a feeling of confidence and self-confidence that you don't want to lose. And for those of you who are stuck in darkness, well, there's one study, I've put it below, and Deborah is putting a few more. We're actually having a complete webinar on depression and PEMF. And when you see that, it's just the same impressive as the PSA levels, and the swelling and everything has dropped. It's a double-blind randomized study with PEMF, with depression, 50 patients in 5 weeks. They were on a chronic incurable depressed state with no hope, and they had a 78% success rate to bring those patients back into normal life, into normal functioning. And that is, for me, such an outstanding result that we said we focus on a completely own webinar on depression, because that is, especially with the times that we're going through, with all the transformations and changes, one of the key elements that you can offer. And that means keep charging yourself, detoxifying, blasting off the toxins, restoring and repairing, and you can do that in every possible way. Now, when I made this slide, I actually thought, you can't write that. But the more I thought about it, the more it became clear that that's actually how it works. You know, you have two options. You slide into the vortex of despair, loss of libido, loss of passion, depression, possible divorce, disease, more disease, terminal disease, death. If you look at the majority of elderly men today, that's the process that happens. All of a sudden, they lose their passion, they lose their energy, and then they age, and then they have no purpose anymore, and then they get grumpy and insecure, and that's not what we want to happen. Or they compensate with big talk because there is no big anymore there. So we really want to go out with dignity and strength and certainty. And that's why, in my opinion, option 2, take charge of your health, is far more logical, right? You know, as you've seen, it's not hard. In fact, it's super easy because it feels good. If you sit down and start doing your treatment, you know, I don't need to convince anyone to do a second PEMF treatment. Whereas if you want to put someone a second time into the hypothermia dome, you need angel tongues. But PEMF, everybody does. Elderly, you know, they come, they love that device. We sell more travel suitcase devices than anything else, because everybody who has one would not go and leave the house without. So it's definitely the easier option. And that brings me to the 4 devices. 4 different strengths. Well, not really. 3. Number 1 is the Clinic Mono. Home device, gentle clinic for detox centers, for brain, depression, MS, Alzheimer, Parkinson, all of those things you can do with the Clinic Mono. And for home use, prostate, cancer, everything you can treat. Look, it starts at, it has a capacity of 4,000 Gauss, which means at your prostate, at your endometrial, at ovaries, wherever you want to radiate into the body, you easily get above those 500 Gauss that Dr. Rao recommended. And that's what we use as the small home model and small clinic model. If you would like to go up to 6,500 Gauss, which is the next model up on the paddle, then the Clinic Duo is more or less 2 monos, but if you apply only 1 applicator, then you have here double the strength. If you apply 2 applicators, you know, one coming from the back, the other one from the front, then you have half-half. So very versatile, ideal if you do massage, acupuncture, chiropractic, physiotherapy, all treatments where you would like to energize the patient while you do the treatment is great. This is our best-selling model. The Clinic Duo is by far the most versatile. It's still strong enough to really make a massive impact, but still being easier on the finance side with $13,500. It's a real powerhouse. And then we go into the professional models, which is the PMT and the Mono, the Pro Mono, $19,000 as a single. And then if you want 2 of those in one device, that's the Duo, and you save quite a lot of money. And then you have 2 times 800 Gauss on the smallest setting and 9,000 Gauss on the highest setting. So the Pro is really if you treat horses, if you have a clinic buzzing with lots of patients, if you treat sports people who really need that big punch, you know, penetrating big muscle groups and having a big impact. If you treat rugby and soccer and people with massive impact wounds, then that would be the case. Also for incontinence, it's the only treatment where we found the more power we have, the higher the success rate. So it requires quite a bit of energy to pulse into the lower diaphragm and restore and reactivate, reduce the inflammation. So again, that's where you would like any of the PMTs and the Pro Mono or the Pro Duo. And that's pretty much it. So let's have a look here. Yeah, you have 1 year warranty on the applicators, 3 year warranty on the devices. They don't need any service, any adjustments or any new parts. They last for the next 10 years without any repair or service. So that's really good. And you have a 30-day money back with restocking fee. We have to do that. So if you use the device for 3 weeks and then you say, I don't have the money and give it back, we charge you the restocking fee. And depending on how you return the device, if it's scratched and mucked, we might reduce a bit more. All right? And that qualifies you for your discount. See, I always say I reward people that stick with me and educate themselves and learn with a discount. So your coupon code for today is no-more-ed. No more ED with dash in between. And that is your coupon code, and that will reduce the price that you saw before by 10%. And now I would like to publish, here we go, the offer. So the offer only takes you to the page where you see those 4 devices. And now I'm spoiled my text. So where you see those 4 devices, and just click on that link now, open it up so that you know where it is and you find it afterwards again. Now, for those of you who've already seen it, who would like to speak with me about your particular case, about insecurity, what to buy, if you have a clinic and you might want to buy 2 or 3, or you have a lot of clients that you would like to refer to, you know, I'm open to anything. I'm dedicated to get this treatment out to as many people as possible. And if you want to join in with me, that's absolutely perfect. So send me a text. I'm in Australia. You might be somewhere else around the world, and we don't want to disturb each other's sleep, right? So just send me a text. Hi, my name is Michael. I'm interested in PMF. Give me a call back. I'm in England, or I'm in Iceland, or I'm in America or Mexico. And then I'll give you a call back according to the time. So just send me a text message and that will guarantee that you speak with me. Otherwise, I might not pick up. All right, that's it. And now let's look at some questions that we might have, right? Oh my God. Oh, that's quite a lot. Okay, how long do I have to purchase a PMF with this coupon? Is there a time limitation? You know, there's internet marketing rules. You got to buy in the next 5 hours, otherwise that deal is gone forever. I don't like that, so I don't do that. You've gone through the education, you learned. You might want to watch 2 or 3 more videos on our training page to make yourself sure. Fine, just remember, no more ED. Where's my coupon code? Here it is. No-more-ED. And that's the coupon code. So write that down, open up the page to the PMF so that you know where to order. And then just remember to come back to that page. It is valid for as long as you need to make a wise decision. All right? I think that's really cool. I don't want to push anyone into a fast thing. All right. Do you have finance available? No, we don't. I was looking into Afterpay, PayPal Afterpay, but I tell you what, PayPal is knocking me around, closing my accounts, opening back up, not paying out my funds. I'm not so sure if that's the way I want to go. We've been looking at bank finance. If you are business, at the moment, the finance rates are incredible. Plus, you can completely write off your business. It's definitely something worthwhile talking with your bank to not pay outrageous fees to those associations. What if I have no results? Well, I always can say then you have something else happening that you ignore. Massive food sensitivities, a stressful wife, or whatever. So actually, you have my text. Then write to me. Instead of just saying, oh, it doesn't work, then we'll go through. See, we often analyze, and I have quite an open eye now to look through what can be the factor that you completely ignore that might make it happen or not. So again, you can contact me via text and I'll call you back. How do we learn how to use PEMF for other diseases like depression? Again, I have a webinar coming up. You will be invited to that webinar and we will put it onto the members area, like this video as well will be in the members area, so that when you log in, as soon as you purchased, you can access all that information, including all the supplements and everything. Okay, how do we learn? Is there a members area to ask questions? Under every single video is question box. You can write your question, I'll answer them back. Can I advertise potency treatments? Yes, you can. Say, I'm a friend of John. He invented that whole thing. Yes, you can advertise potency treatments. I just ordered the Clinic Duo. Nice. Congratulations. How long until I get it? Oh, you're one of the super patient ones. I would say, look, if you just ordered it, it's weekend. So it takes Monday, Tuesday until they start. And then it might take 10 days production time, maybe 8, maybe 12, we'll see. And then shipping. So you'll be notified as soon as your device is ready to ship. You will be notified with the tracking number and then you can track the order. And I'm not allowed to call the ladies in the office anymore. They said, look, once it's ready, it's ready. We can't help it. So, and I agree with them. Sorry for that delay. We will catch up. Here, there's too many factors. COVID, material, import, ships not being able to unload because there's such a long waiting time. There's too many factors that are causing it. At the moment, we have enough material, but we have a certain delay in production because we waited very long for a batch. And now as it's here, it takes a while to be produced. Thanks for your time. Thank you for putting in your questions. If there are more, I might go through again and answer them back. I have your emails. If there is something that I've overlooked, I'm sorry, but we've been going now for, oh my God, 1 hour and 33 minutes. So I want to cut that short. Thank you all for joining me. And the link is still up. Yes, the link to the product. And let me go back so that you don't forget it. No more ED. As a webinar ticket from this webinar, and then you can get your 10% discount. See you soon.